Welcome to Body Efficiency Training. My name is Toby, and in this lecture I'm going to be talking about natural law. And I'm going to be talking about it philosophically, but also practically, how we can actually use this in real life. Now, you might wonder what this has got to do with body efficiency training, but body efficiency is really all about energy. It's your internal energy, your life force, your chi. You need to have a feeling of that to measure your efficiency, because efficiency means you are doing more with less and less effort. Hence you are saving energy, you are increasing your energy levels, your chi. And following the natural law is the way to increase your energy. It is the most efficient way of being. So it is directly related to body efficiency training, training the body. And that's why in the sovereign movement, so this movement is the practical use of natural law. Now, I should distinguish natural law from common law, because common law is still a man-made thing. All written down laws are man-made. And even though the intention of that law might have been good, it's still written down by man, and that is open to interpretation and corruption. And then you've also got the legal system, the legislations, and legislation is supposed to be maintaining and upholding the law. It's meant to be good. It's supposed to have had a good intention, but of course it doesn't. And now we've got millions and millions of legislations, and they all contradict each other. So that's how you can fight in the courts. You know, you search through the legislation, and one says this one, and the other one says this one, this one, this one, and this goes on and on forever, and that's how they make their money. But that's pretty much all nonsense. It's just sort of fun and games. What we need to do is understand the real natural law, and there's not really been any good explanation of this. It's not religious. We've got religious law, but the natural law is not. It's pure logic. It can be deduced from nothing, pure logic. Now, if you listen to my other lecture series, Magical Science, I talk all about the formation of the universe, the underlying universal field, the grand unified field, which is the ether. Now, of course, this is not mainstream science. This is old-fashioned science. This is Tesla's physics, but it's also Taoist philosophy. And the Taoists were the oldest scientists, or arguably the oldest scientists, coming from shamanism. Pure natural law. And it's an understanding of the universe based on nature. The living energy consciousness is included in that science. It's not dualistic, it's not materialistic, it's a holistic science. And in order to understand natural law, we need to go and look at a bit about that again. So let's build up natural law from the very beginning, but let's build up the universe. Now, the universe starts with ether. So we have the ether. Now, this is the underlying universal field of everything. Everything comes from the ether. But this is unmanifest. It is not yet physical. Now, you could also call this chi. You could also call this inertia. Inertia is a very, very good word. Inertia. In the ancient Greek sense, this means pure potentiality. Infinite potential. But it has not yet manifest. In the Tao, you might call this the Wu Chi. They have a concept called the Wu Chi, the pregnant void. The darkness, the emptiness from which everything emerges. But it's filled with potential. It's pregnant. So this is the ether, the underlying field. But it is not yet manifest. You can also call this spirit. So spirit, we know, is unmanifest. It's not physical. Now, from this spirit, we know the manifest world appears. Now, the manifest world, it appears, again, as a unified field, but this unified field is electromagnetism. Electromagnetism is the manifestation of the ether. The ether is unmanifest, pure potential. But when this pure potentiality appears, it has to appear in a limited form. It is no longer infinite. it appears as electromagnetism. And this in itself is a unified field. You can't have electricity without magnetism, or vice versa. These are the yin and yang of the underlying physical or physically manifested field. So electromagnetism is the beginning of the manifest world, and from here we have a fundamental particle. We have a particle, and then we have all matter, and we have life. But life is interesting. Life is a mixture of matter and spirit. We need information for life. So spirit is always involved. The question is, how does this spirit become electromagnetism? What is the process? And herein lies the beginning of where we can see the natural law. So from spirit, there is a vibration, there is an impetus, a disturbance in the ether. And this disturbance creates electromagnetism. So where does this disturbance come from? Well, let's go back to spirit. If we call it spirit, we can also call this consciousness. This underlying field of ether, inertia, spirit, is a field of consciousness. Now, from consciousness makes an observation. So we have here an observation. So we see something in existence. From observation leads to desire. So it's like we see something, then we want something. Now desire is now becoming a movement. This is an emotion. See, emotion is vibration, a disturbance of consciousness, a disturbance of the ether that starts to create electromagnetism. And from desire, we have action. We have movement, we have vibration. But all these things these are not physical. Action is where it becomes physical. So this is philosophical, but this is also fundamental. This is the very process of how the field of consciousness becomes electromagnetism, and from electromagnetism it becomes matter, and matter interacts with spirit to become life. In spirit, is non-physical, we have consciousness, but what is in consciousness? What governs the spirit? What is the law of the ether? What is the underlying natural law of the very highest primordial substance of the universe? Well, that law is going to be this. Let's write that in red. That law is mathematics. Now, mathematics is not physical. It is a function of consciousness. We can think about it, we can write it down, but the concept, the process of logic, is not a physical thing. It's a world in itself. And if you ask even a mathematician, is mathematics always true? Yes, it's always true. By definition, it's the process of logic. It's true throughout all space and all time. Outside of space and time, it's still true. And this is why, if mathematics is always true beyond space and time, it means the ether is always true beyond space and time. It means the universe, or the creation of the universe, is always happening. There's never a single moment. We have a continuous universe. And if you like, you can call it a steady state universe, but not really. Time is a function of movement. There's no beginning or end to time. Anyway, the natural law of the ether is mathematics. Inside consciousness, as well as mathematics, we have imagination. Now, imagination is outside reality. We can imagine anything, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to come into reality. For something to come into reality, it will have to follow the process of mathematics. Mathematics is required in the process of ether or spirit turning into electromagnetism and turning into matter. So mathematics is going to be the law of creation. But there's a little bit more to it than that. The mathematics of growth, the mathematics of life is to do with something called the golden ratio. The golden ratio, which is the Greek letter phi. It's a number, it's a proportion. And this golden ratio governs everything in creation. This is the fundamental law of mathematics that is required. It governs the growth of living things, the process of replication, but the process of replication over and over and over in a slightly different way. It's never the same way twice. So this is a very, very deep, very important mathematics. And there's a geometry that goes together with this as well. So all this mathematics and geometry is the law that governs the creation of the physical universe from the unmanifest universe, the underlying field of ether, spirit, or consciousness. This is the beginning of the natural law. It's the law of law of mathematics, the golden ratio. But how does that apply to us as actual conscious, living, emotional beings? We know that the golden ratio is going to govern the creation of life. But there is also death. There is also death. So death is the end of life. Now you can think of death as entropy, which is the gradual reduction of order into chaos, and therefore life will be negative entropy, or I'm going to call it organization. So when physical matter is being organized, in other words, consciousness through desire is doing some work to organize matter, we have life, and that is going to be working through the golden ratio mathematics. You have to always use this mathematics for it to work. There's no other way. Then we are following the natural law. Now, when we have death, this life, this organization is gone. The desire is gone. No action is gone. It's just left to collapse, crumble into death. It's no longer following this law, this mathematics. So you could say, let's sum this up now. What is the fundamental natural law? Let's write it down in one sentence. The natural law is to promote life. That is the natural law. Promote life. If we are doing something to support the process of life, the ether manifesting itself into the material world, we are creating energy, we are creating life, we are creating organization, order, then we are following the natural law. And why do we follow the natural law? Because this increases our energy. This is increasing chi. This is promoting chi. This is increasing our health and well-being. When we help other people to increase their health and well-being, we are helping ourselves. We get manifold feedback from that. So promoting life is following the natural law. And therefore, promoting death, let's put it in black, promoting death is the opposite. Is the opposite. This is when you are not following the natural law. You're breaking it. And we know this. This is instinctive. This is built into consciousness itself. This is built into the ether. It's built into our soul. We know this. The problem is we've been confused. We've been misguided. We've been told a lot of nonsense. So we don't understand what this means. We don't understand what it means to promote life. Because we've got doctors now, so-called doctors, and they're supposedly promoting life, but they're giving us all sorts of crazy poison in the name of promoting life. So they don't understand what that means, or they don't understand what they're doing, or they're flat out lying. They know what they're doing, and they are lying, pretending to do this. So the trouble is not so much understanding what the natural law is and following it. The trouble is, how do we tell if we're being lied to? How do we tell if we are really doing this or not? How do we tell if we understand what this means? Well, comes from personal training, personal observation, deep contemplation. You've got to observe yourself, experiment on yourself, and feel your heart and your soul. It's your conscience. Your conscience is the natural law, but we've lost touch with our conscience. And now we've got the so-called legal system, as I was talking about before, which is legislation, man-made rules and regulations. And this, in fact, is all operating in the realm of death, because this is all about corporations. It's all commercial law, and a corporation is a dead entity. It's not a living thing. It's a fictional thing. And we are actually, of course, living things. So living things, the natural law applies to living things. Dead things or inanimate things, well, that law doesn't apply. The laws of death apply to them. Well, what are the laws of death? Well, the laws of death are anything other than this. Anything else, you can do anything. Anything you want to do comes in that. If you want to take someone else's life away, yeah, that's okay. That's in that rule. If I want to trick people, I want to steal from them, yeah, that's all taking someone's energy away from them. That is taking them away from life, moving them closer to death. You're promoting death by stealing things, by harming them. It's fairly obvious that there are no rules. There are no laws in the ways of death. This is the zombie world. This is the dark force. This is the dark side of the force. You see, it's the same energy, but one is promoting order, harmony, balance. And if we do that, we are Jedi, if you want to use that Star Wars analogy. We are using the same force, but we're using that force to create harmony, to create focus. And if you're a Sith, you're on the dark side of the force. You're using the same force, but you're creating disharmony. You are creating imbalance. You are taking away someone else's force for yourself. And you are enjoying that process. But the trouble is, this is endless. There's never any satisfaction. You know, the search for power is endless. You always want more, you always want more, you always want more. This is a black hole, a bottomless pit. When you promote life, it's about promoting abundance, satisfaction, contentment, sharing, you're overwhelmed with good feelings that you want to share. You want to promote it. This is what we want. This is the natural law. With law, and we've got here natural law, of course, we have tried to write this down. And we might have had the good intention in doing that. And indeed, I am doing it here. Like I said, the natural law is to promote life. So I have written it down. But this is only an attempt to write down the natural law. And I think this is a pretty good attempt. You see, words have got a power, but what is this word? What is a word? Again, a word is not a physical thing. It's a series of frequencies. I'm making a sound out of my mouth, and it's a series of sounds, a series of frequencies. But a series of frequencies is a series of numbers. And even the numbers are separated by spaces or time, and even that is another number. And numbers are mathematics, and they exist beyond space and time. So the information behind a word is not physical. So a word is an abstract thing. But what's interesting is the intention or the meaning behind a word. This goes back to what I was saying earlier in the formation of the universe. The ether, the non-physical, comes before the physical. So it's not so much that the word has power, but it's the intention behind the word that has power. And the situation behind the word that has power. And it's more than just a single word, of course. It's a series of words, a whole language. And that is the problem when you write down the law. You're creating a language. You need a language to write this down. And that language is open to interpretation and is open to misuse. And we are making a judgment on the words based on our own assumption of what we think they mean. And this is a big problem, big problem, because people are changing the meaning of the words. And that's how the whole legal system works. We think they mean something because we talk in English. They're talking another language. They're talking legalese. Their words have a totally different meaning, and they tie you up in knots. And because you don't understand it and you say yes, they say, well, you agreed. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. You don't understand our language. That's not our fault. That's your fault. So the point being, how do we know when we're being deceived or when we're being hypnotized or manipulated? And that's a tricky thing to do because we've got so many false ideas in our head. So we're very easy manipulated. We've been controlled, we've been programmed since childhood to be accepting of manipulations and lies. We accept authority telling us something. We've been programmed to be like this. So we have to question everything, every single thing. And a good guideline is, how do you feel? When someone says something to you or something happens, how do you feel? Do you feel your heart dropping, sinking? Or do you feel your heart lifting, feeling a bit more free, feeling a bit more grateful, abundant? Or do you feel yourself closing down? This is a very simple guideline to know whether someone is promoting life or promoting death, and whether it's coming towards you. How do I feel when this person talks to me? And of course, usually any interaction with the authorities always brings you down. It's a letter to pay this, a fine for this, summons for this, summons. They're all knocking you down. So there's never a lift in that. The authorities are never lifting you up. They're always crushing you down. We know this because we feel it. And just by that simple feeling, it is proof that they are operating on death, not life. They are crushing our soul and spirit, not enlivening it, not feeding it. We know that they're not following the natural law, and the legal system is not following the natural law. They're going completely against it. We've got to do it for ourselves. We've got to do it for ourselves. And I'm going to talk more about this, but for now, in this beginning introduction to natural law, I would say that we practice training our body. That's what this channel is all about. I'm trying to explain another way of looking at your body, how to train it, how to use it. I'm not just looking at it in the overt muscles, I'm looking at it internally, the skeleton, the internal organs, the energy system. These are all things we can train. And if we train these things, we work on our body awareness, we're also working on our emotional center and the control of our mind and the awareness of our aura, the energy around us. And the aura is really the first defense against the dark arts. This is the first defense against the dark arts, the aura. The aura gives you sense. Someone's trying to manipulate you. Someone's trying to play a game with you. Someone's trying to steal your energy. And that's the first line of defense. You build your sovereign mindset. No, nobody gets inside my aura. Nobody controls my mind. Nobody has authority over me unless I give it to them. And from there, you can begin to work out a strategy to defend yourself or protect yourself in whatever is happening to you in this physical world. Be it legal through paperwork, or through having to talk your way out of something, or through physical self-defense, because now we're under attack physically as well. Now it's gone beyond words. You're going to have to defend your space through physical movement, power and speed. You're going to have to defend yourself. And again, I talk about that on this channel. So it's all one and the same thing. This is building our integral sovereign self and following the natural law. That means we be a good person, but not for any arbitrary reason, but because that it is the best way to be. It is the best way to gain more energy for yourself. It's the best way to build a stronger, healthier body. It's simple as that. It's the best way to build healthier, better relationships. Be a good person. But it doesn't mean you're a pushover. It doesn't mean you are a servant to anyone. It doesn't mean you have to turn the other cheek every time. Not at all. Sometimes you've got to stand up to defend the peace. You see, balance is dynamic. Balance is not just sitting back doing nothing. When you're holding a balance, you're always dynamic. And that's what we've got. If we want to maintain a balanced, harmonious, peaceful world, it requires continual work to maintain this balance. We have to keep an eye on things. We can't just sit back and expect someone else to do it. We all have to do it. We all have to follow the natural law. And if we follow the natural law, we shouldn't be getting in trouble with anyone anyway, pretty much. But of course, the people we're getting in trouble with are the criminals. So that's the thing we've got to distinguish. We are the law-abiding people. The people imposing legislation upon us are the criminals. They are the ones breaking the natural law. The trouble is there's no one on the natural law, or not enough of us on the natural law side, to arrest them, hold them accountable. So it's might against right at the moment. So we have to still all we can do is build our own energy, build our own body, and build our own little environment. And from there we extend gradually outwards. And we build a network. We have to build a network of sovereigns, which is another project that I'm working on. And I'll leave a link below to that, to a video in which I talk about that project. It's a real world project that can help to build an alternative system. Anyway, I hope this lecture made sense. Do leave me any questions or comments below, and check out the Sovereign Project. Again, a very important website and a very important project which is educating people in how the legal system works and how we can stand up against it and find a better way to live in this world as it is, and ways to break down and fight back against a corrupt system. So do check them out, links below. And thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in any of these other videos here.